G'day mate and welcome to Captain Industry with me, Jetty. Today I want to look at Schaschlik's island. Now, his island really illustrates the point of you should really play a game the way you want to play it. Not the way other people tell you to play it, not dealing with the things that you want to deal with. If you just want to concentrate on, say, digging inside a game like Captain Industry, which I know a lot of people enjoy the digging aspect, well, then that's what you should concentrate on. Not a lot of the other parts of the game that you might not find as interesting, designing little builds and putting together, well, subsystems and main systems and all that sort of stuff. Just concentrate on the parts that you enjoy. And today, like I said, I want to look at Schaschlik's island, which is a unique in a special sort of way. But before I get into that, I want to ask a very important question. Of course, the very important question being, well, can I borrow a like? I just like to borrow a like. I like to borrow a like early in the video. If you're not happy with the video, you didn't enjoy the island tour, by all means, you can have your like back. But do be warned, that's going to keep the reins here for the whole video. Now, first thing we're going to want to look at is, well, contracts. I like looking at contracts and also the captain's office. Let's do contracts first. Contracts. So, on his particular island, he has gone for 100% sustainability. It is not a 100% sustainable island. And he's gone for the normal, well, slag to sour water. That's pretty much guaranteed. Also, service to gold, or we have household appliances, copper, gold for uranium or vehicle parts for crude oil, household appliances for wood, service for iron ore, construction parts for limestone, household goods for coal, and consumer electronics for quartz. These are pretty much the given. Like, a lot of people are going to choose these particular contracts. Actually, rubber for wood is actually normally higher in what I've seen than household appliances for wood, but it's a bit of give and take. Some people prefer some contracts rather than others. I personally really like the lab equipment contract for uranium ore and also gold. And also lab equipment 2 for copper. They're two that I just enjoy because it means I get to continue to produce lab equipment on my island. But with the like now borrowed and the rain going away, we can actually have a look and tour the island. So first off, right in front of us, we have, well, a couple of data centers and a whole lot of docks with the fast breeding reactors in the corner. We'll look at those in just a second, but first off, we need to stop and look at, of course, the tomb of the captains and the poor captain's office that's just dwarfed by the tomb of captains. As for our uni and our captain's office, we have plenty of food 1 and 2, more household goods 1, 2, 3, also household appliances 1, 2, 3, and consumer electronics 1, 2, 3. Industrial edicts, we have recycling increase 1 through to 4. That's pretty standard for a 100% sustainable island. Overload trucks, which I'm definitely a fan of. I'm definitely a fan of all my trucks moving around more resources. Also farming boost. So farming boost is going to cost you more water, but also you get an extra set of crops. It does technically make your farms a lot more effective if you can afford the uni costs. It's not cheap, but then again, he's sort of swimming in uni. Also has a couple of world contracts, world mines still running. So either they're not fully mined out or he's got infinite mines. Doesn't matter. We're going to have a look at the rest of the island. So over here we have, the fast breeding reactors. We can see we have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, plus the 7th one. The 7th one's a little bit unique in the fact that this just makes hydrogen. The other thing that makes this whole, breeding reactor setup a little bit unique is it's actually a blueprint. So as far as I can tell, he doesn't actually enjoy designing the microsystems, the tiny systems, the thingy that makes, just the nuclear power run. And instead, he's chosen to grab a blueprint. And in the case of this one, in my research, I'm pretty sure this is Neat Engineers fast breeding reactor setup, where, it comes with all the different machinery you're going to need to run this many fast breeding reactors. It's got a little bit of extra on there because the hydrogen breeder reactor by Governor, a member of my community that I actually had a chance to chat to before putting together this video and help me track down some of the owners of some of these different blueprints. But yeah, this particular blueprint, all it does is produce an awful lot of hydrogen. It was sort of important, earlier in the game, where we would use a lot of that hydrogen to make maybe something like fertilizer, but now we can use it for trucks. Well, that definitely changes things up as well. But yes, this is basically an off-the-shelf blueprint. So rather than having to design, especially that mess of pipes compacted into that small an area, which I would hate to do personally, he's chosen, grab a blueprint, dropped out a blueprint, it just does the job, and you don't have to go through and, try and organize this mess of pipes to do this mess of things. Yeah, pass. Continuing around the island, we have plenty of straight belts with an awful lot of resources traveling around, because as you can see, he's not afraid to have a very big buffer. This is glass mix. This is just a little bit of glass mix that's been buffered up, you know, for later. Also with a tiny bit of sand. The sand is obviously coming from, well, the quartz processing right here, which brings in just a little bit of quartz, which is buffered up, and then convert it into just a little bit of sand that's buffered up for later. Also right beside that, we have just a little bit of brine buffered up for making just a little bit of salt, you know, in case you're ever short of brine, or salt for that matter. Also is used, as you can see, a couple of areas of the map for very large blueprints. Very large blueprints for turning corners on buses, because I would hate to have to do this myself. But as you can see, very, very straight lines, very, very well done to try and keep things as straight and organized as possible, which brings into the main smelting area. So right here we have, let's hope I get the name right, it's Kenrix. Kerix? I think it's Kerix. Kerix gold smelter, and well, also the iron smelter, the copper smelter, all the smelters are all Kerix design. And it's a very, very large design. It's a very, very large design, even by my standards, but also it's a blueprint. So rather than having to go through the effort of putting together a gold smelter and then maybe duplicate it and triplicate it, and maybe it doesn't tile together terribly well, you can go to places like, well, the official Discord has a section for blueprints prior to update 2. With update 2, they released the Captain Industry Hub, which has, well, every single blueprint you can pretty much desire. It's where I also publish my blueprints, because I understand that some people do not want to go through the hassle of designing an oil refinery or a food processing area, or maybe a fast breeding reactor, or maybe the processing for a fast breeding reactor. So I make sure as I'm putting together my own builds, I make sure I make the blueprints and I publish them so other people could just, you know, go on, grab the bits they want and paste them down. So yes, back to smelting. And as you can see, well, there was room for a little bit more should you need even more gold. I don't know where you need more gold at this stage, but anything's possible. So over here we have construction parts 3, construction parts 4, also 1 and 2, and also all their inputs required to make all the construction parts. And again, this is probably a blueprint, considering how symmetrical it is. In fact, I'm pretty sure I've seen somewhere on the map, I can't remember where, because he does have an awful lot of ghosted blueprints down for saving for later. I have seen, well, essentially this, an assembler with 3 belts in the back, and you can just copy and paste that as many times as you need to build any sort of build that requires up to 3 inputs. Luckily, anything that requires a assembly only needs 3 inputs, which does make life a lot easier. But as you can see, all 3 belts are here for construction parts 3, even though it only has 2 inputs. It also means in the future, if you have a build that you need to expand. You have an item that has 1 or possibly 2 inputs in different ratios, and you need to vastly increase the amount of, well, construction parts 2 that you bring into the construction parts 3 build, or electronics, or construction parts 1 and the construction parts 2 build. You have multiple belts that you could be using to maximize production. Over here we have, well, of course, silicon, a whole bunch of silicon from looks of it, and more have been pasted down. Not that they've been built, but they're there and ready should they be needed. Of course, over here we have glass, over here we have copper, and again, an awful lot of copper. You know, this is 450 belts using the ability that you can pass more than 450 through a connector, so it still goes in the same buffer. Unfortunately, it's only limited to 4 out, but I'm pretty sure he could fix that should he need to, and that gives him, well, 4 belts worth of copper, 4 belts worth of glass. We haven't got steel, but it's right here, and then iron's around the corner. There's an awful lot of production built in case he needs it in the future. Of course, we have the steel smelter here, and again, all these particular smelter designs are from Kenrix. And then over the back here, we have, well, iron. Iron is the item you need the least of. So as you can see, it's the smallest of the different designs. But yes, over the front, we have, well, the main production area. So we have vehicle parts 1, vehicle parts 2, vehicle parts 3. Yes, that's probably more than enough for vehicle parts 3 because you just don't use that many. We have maintenance 3, we have maintenance 2, we have maintenance 1. We have our glass rocking chairs, which he's using for contract. Also our white goods, which again, he is using for contract. And again, this is one of the advantages of having the 3 belts that come in. Also means that you could add a booster belt should you need to. Should you have already run out of, say, electronics on the belt, you could put a booster belt in here that makes sure that the last machines are running at full speed. Same goes exactly here for our household goods. Because they use an awful lot of glass, you can add a booster belt in fairly easily. We have the microchip build here, which I actually looked and I couldn't find this particular build as a blueprint, but I'm sure it's a build that I've seen before. Maybe down in the comments below, you can tell me if you've seen this design before. I have a feeling I have, and it's also an older design because it's still with the ramped belts. So that means it's prior to update 2, because update 2, of course, we added, well, the lifts. Yes. That's that design. Over here we have obviously electronics 2, which does require 3 inputs. We have more electronics 2 and PCBs, which again requires 3 inputs. Over here we have electronics 1, which only requires 2 inputs, which means you do have that advantage of using that extra belt if you want to bring in the extra copper. In his case, he's just gone with one belt will do these machines, another belt will do these machines, another belt will do these machines, because a belt means 450, and these guys use either 50 or almost 100 each. So yeah, they really burn through copper when making electronics 1. Over here we have mechanical parts. As it was, he still needed to bring in 2 belts worth of steel, so he's bringing in, oh no, actually he didn't need 2 belts worth of steel. He's bringing steel in one side and dragging out the other onto, well, science. Science is, yeah, that's all he needs. That's all he needs for the science contract. Yeah, not a lot. Okay, continuing on, we have, from smelting, all the resources come out here. It's still, there's a little bit of spaghetti has worked its way in, but it's still pretty neat, and that's going to head up past the town, which is going to bring us across to recycling. Recycling, and again, Governor, who I spoke about earlier, who did the fast-breeding hydrogen build, also published quite some time ago the recycling build, and even by my standards, again, this is overkill. I'm pretty sure a lot of the things on this island are overkill, but he has used... The area that he has used, he's definitely overproduced on in case he decided he needed a bit more production. We're going to get to the mega project in just a second, because that needs a minute or two to itself. Anyway, recycling, again, wonderful blueprint. Just drop it down, and this will handle an awful lot of recycling. It's, what, 144 per machine? And, well, 1 machine, 2 machine, 3 machine, 4 machine. I think the best part about this is it actually brings out your different items and then compresses them there and then. So you actually end up shipping out everything as pressed, which means it can have an incredibly high throughput, which you can then, well, shred back into iron scrap, copper scrap, whatever you require, and send it back on the belts, back off to the smelters. Over here we have food processing. Food processing is, well, it's food processing. It's very complicated. We're not going to actually go through it, but again, a man that does not enjoy the, you've only got 3 months worth of food, even though you have a box of, 50,000 food, well, a bucket of 4,000 food sitting out right outside. So he has multiple of the food markets, each being fed with different goods, making the best use of both slots. And that continues up to, no, sausage is just 1, eggs is just 1. We have both medical 1, 2, and 3, so people have a choice. It's important they have choice. We have cake, we have bread, we have all the goodies all being fed directly in town, and therefore it says 19 months rather than, well, wrong button, that button. Plenty of food. 2 means people are eating 50% extra food, which actually adds up very quickly. All right. Continuing around the island, we have just aromatherapy digester or 2. These are going to convert any extra potatoes and items across to, well, fuel gas. Fuel gas can be converted to hydrogen, all sorts of things. And in his case, he is running into, well, just a statue of maintenance or 2. Also into the grand poop processor. Yep, everybody needs a poop processor out there somewhere. Speaking of other people's blueprints, we did have, I missed it. We went around it. Oil. We have a backup, an autosave, and a backup power plant. Should something go wrong with a fast breeding reactor or 2, it's important that you have a backup. Obviously, there's a diesel generator or 2 he could kick in should he need to. And we also have a couple of oil blueprints to, make sure this stays full and ready to go. Also, all the ships which are still running on diesel, make sure they keep running. These particular 3 blueprints, I couldn't actually find the author for, but they are very tight, very compact. And like I said, I can completely understand why people don't enjoy trying to make something like this and built to ratio and squeezing it into as small a footprint as possible. You see some people's designs, you're like, how long did you spend on that? How long did you spend working on just that little blueprint? Like, I know my food processing build, it was 20 hours. 20 hours to actually just cut it up into blueprints. The time to build it, I have no idea. It was all built in game, so we won't count that. But the time to just cut it up to make sure it was in a state where I could publish it, was 20 hours. As for this one is just producing an awful lot of plastic, awful lot of plastic, also an awful lot of rubber. It all comes from naphtha. So this whole blueprint, the main thing it does is produce a whole lot of naphtha. On this side, we actually have Guardian Dragon Lords, max oil. So this brings in a 450 pipe of crude. Yep. And then it can consume the whole lot and then output, fuel gas, also ammonia, diesel, hydrogen, naphtha, chlorine. I didn't know it did chlorine. Obviously, it doesn't do chlorine. It gets salt water and converts to chlorine somewhere in here. Also, fertilizer 1, fertilizer 2, so on and so forth. And again, you could spend hours trying to design something like this yourself, or you could grab a blueprint off somewhere like the Capital Industry Hub. Continuing around the map, we have over this side, we have just a little bit of fertilizer generation. This, of course, is taking in super steam from an electric boiler, converting that to hydrogen, taking the hydrogen and mixing it with some nitrogen from the air separator to give you ammonia and oxygen, again from the air separator, is going to give you some fertilizer 1. Fertilizer 1 mixed with some limestone and some sulfur gives you fertilizer 2, which means he's producing an awful lot of fertilizer 2, which means he can run an awful lot of farms. And once again, he's another person that's quite happy to pay the penalty for not rotating the crops, but it does mean that all the potatoes are on a single belt. So he doesn't have to worry about trying to make sure that things stay balanced and things keep moving. He just pump out nothing but potatoes on one belt. If we come to this side is obviously all sorts of veggies. This side is fruit, so on and so forth. And again, I do love little designs that people come up with. And this is interesting. This is water in, which feeds directly into the farm. Also, we have, a couple of rain catchers here, which don't produce a lot of water, but they have a decent buffer. And the idea is, wrong balancer, that balancer. The idea is that, these are going to supplement the amount of water used by a greenhouse when you have a little bit of a dry season. So rather than pulling water out of the mains line, they're going to have a little bit of a buffer here. Also, same with fertilizer, we have a balancer in here, which is going to bring in fertilizer, put in a little bit of a buffer before feeding it to the farm, which again means that he can max out the farms, therefore have less space taken up by each farm. And that applied with, I pressed the wrong button again, that applied with the Farming Boost 1, 2, 3 means, it doesn't give me cumulative, okay, it's 30% extra. 30% extra, so it means you are making 80 potatoes every month. You're making 61 veggies every month. If we, for just a second, turn that off, that drops down to 47. That's a big difference, 61. So we're doing a little bit better than 1 potato per second. And then if we turn this on, 80 potatoes per minute, 61 per minute. Yeah, it's an awful lot. Don't get me wrong, there are some particular crops that absolutely devastate the soil. Wheat's probably not the best example. Soybean, that's the one I'm looking for. Soybean has, if we actually look at the recipe, soybean has a fertility cost of 18 per month that it's running. Also sugarcane, but because soybean has such a short turnaround of just 4 months, it means that he needs 52 fertilizer every single month. So it's basically a full 60 pipe non-stop to just feed this one farm its fertilizer. Sure, he is using fertilizer 2, which does have a 2% fertilization per fertilizer. Look, I'm going to link up the top right hand corner. Farms are complicated, fertilizer is complicated. I highly recommend, I've done a tutorial video where I covered everything about farms and fertilization. Highly recommend if you're interested and want to learn more about farms, fertilization, the costs, the benefits, have a look at that video. Did a whole deep dive into it. But yes, it does mean that some particular crops, the ones at the end don't get any fertilizer because that pipe is empty, and that pipe over here, it didn't start off full, which probably doesn't help it. Comes from a T-junction. Comes from here, comes from, like I said, The builds are very neat, very straight, no complaints whatsoever. Priority out goes that way. So that's pipe number 1. This must be an overflow pipe, and this must be another overflow pipe. Yeah, it's an overflow pipe. So anything excess peels off that way, and there's another one here with anything excess from this peeling off that way. Yeah. So yeah, it's not a lot of fertilizer on that pipe to start with, but over here we have more fertilizer builds. So it's Tippy's slag to sour water. So this takes in well, the sour water contract, which is this one. This one takes in sour water and then runs it through a whole lot of sour water strippers to then give you the ammonia. The ammonia is peeled off and combined with some oxygen from the air separators to give you fertilizer 1. Fertilizer 1 is obviously combined with limestone and sulfur to make fertilizer 2. At the same time, well, this consumes its own sulfur but does produce excess. The excess sulfur well, gets turned back into slag, which is then exported and then gets turned into more sour water via the contract. And again, this is a little build that Tippy came up with quite some time ago, which is just a very simple build you can put down, and it's going to turn your sour water into fertilizer, and if it can't, it'll turn into more slag, so you can export it to get in more sour water to make more fertilizer, because honestly, fertilizer is one of the really, really important things in capital industry to cut down on farming space, because farms take up a lot of space. Like, if you compare that to any other build, like the whole manufacturing area is roughly the same size as the farms. Yeah. But that brings us into, well, the other item over the back. Hang on. Let's just turn off the fog. He went for a little bit of a dig. Just a tiny bit of a dig. Just a small bit of a dig. And, well, you remember those hydrogen pipes right at the start? Well, one of those hydrogen pipes is this pipe. This pipe, which does a small travel into the void and heads down here to, well, the bottom of the map. It's so deep, I can't see the bottom. Yeah, he decided the part of the game that he really enjoyed was, well, watching the Diggy Boys dig. So he did make sure the Diggy Boys dig deep, and kept digging deep, and kept digging deep all the way till we got to the very bottom of the map. Does I have a marker? Oh, we can put markers here. Minus 1200. Yep. Minus 1300. Zigzag out here for the last fuel station, and then you can see, well, the glorious digging team. Can I get a camera? Cool. The glorious digging team. The glorious digging team, where they finally reached the very bottom of the map because they couldn't reach any further because, well, hang on. I can't. Game, let me zoom out. There we go. Yeah, he went very, very close to the sea. Very, very close to the sea on all sides. In fact, the island is one giant hole, and then just whoop. Trying to get the camera to agree with me. There we go. One giant hole, and then a little bit of a strip of an island for, well, the rest of the town, the rest of the production area. So, yeah, he did have a couple of comments. He did make about his map. One, he was very, very proud. Again, I actually have to zoom all the way out for this one. Okay, can I turn on the UI and the legend? No? Okay, let's turn that off. Turn on the legend. Cool, now we have the legend. Turn on that. Turn back on the UI, and that way I should be able to see the legend. And leftover resources. So he has a limestone patch here. This is for... I can't click on things. This is for sinking in CO2. So this is CO2 sink, which means it's man-made. Around the edge of the island, we have, over here, a little drop of sand that he didn't manage to clean up. It's very, very, very much very deep. A little bit of sand and a little bit of limestone and quartz dumped here. This looks like it was a mistake and it was actually dumped in the sea rather than, well, it was here to start with. And I do believe, oh yeah, right here. I have no idea how you end up with coal at that position of the map. Can I turn that back on? Bring up mining designations. 0. Can I follow this lip around the... Oh, around the map? That's minus 1,000. That's minus 1,000. I have no idea how you get a spotted coal 1,000 tiles deep, but he managed to get a spotted coal 1,000 tiles deep. But yes, his final accomplishment was minus 1,444. That's as deep as he could dig. He did put just a couple of last saviors down here, a couple of little trees planted at the bottom, and did an amazing job of digging as deep as possible inside capital industry. I actually think this is the map that has gone the deepest that I've seen. And as you can see, he's employed a couple of methods to make sure that he could have the maximum possible dig. So important things that you need to understand if you want to dig as deep as possible is one, fuel. You need to have fuel nice and close. You need to have a couple of fuel vehicles ready to deliver fuel to every single dump truck. Well, the dump trucks will come get their own fuel, but every single diggy boy as fast as possible. Other very, very important thing is make sure you have your rock storage as close, or your rock dump as close to your digging site, mining site as possible, and then use belts. And as you can see down here at this point, he's got 4 belts, and that means this bucket is going to be emptying very, very fast, constantly, and heading up the map. But then up here being, well, if that bucket is fully spoken for, they'll drive to the next closest bucket, being this one. This one has another 4 belts, so now he has 8 belts coming up. And then as they pass around the bridges, the belts and everything else, we'll get to... I feel like I'm missing a bucket. Yeah, there's more belts than I thought. Oh no, it's 12 belts. 12 belts. 12 belts. Maybe this is still 12 belts just flattened out. That's way more than 12 belts flattened out. Another bucket. A small retaining wall, just in case things cascade down again. No, it looks like he's left the old belts and pulled down new belts all the way. Because yes, when you finally get to the top, there is one hell of a belt. Actually, it's probably splitting the belts. Yes, he is. I called it. So he's splitting the belts so he can come out to multiple belts on the way up. Because eventually, when you get to the top, you can actually take all that material and dump it. And that's when things get a little bit awkward. Hence we have, well, the dumping squad. The dumping squad right here, which each of these only do 200 per minute. And of course, the belt's going to fit into 450. So we have multiple of these fanned out to make sure you can dump material as fast as possible. Along with, well, an awful lot down here. The same story. He's dumping out to the edge of the island as fast as he possibly can to make sure that he can keep digging all the way down. But, yeah, like I said, if you want to play games like Capital Industry and you don't want to worry about the minor things like designing. Oh, I can't even look down. It's that deep. If you want to design and play parts of the game that you want to play and you don't want to design intricate little builds, you don't want to worry about exactly how to put together, you know, some of the more complicated things like fast burning reactors or oil refineries, or even some of the simpler things like no, where is it? Mechanical parts. Steel in, mechanical parts out. You don't want to design a system that does this? Find a blueprint. People have published blueprints for just about everything inside Capital Industry, along with a lot of other games. Like Satisfactory is about to start on the channel, and there are blueprints for many, many things inside Satisfactory. Factorio. We've been playing Factorio in a month and a half. Again, there are blueprints for an awful lot of the builds you're going to find inside Factorio. But as you can see, he had to, well, put a stop to the digging and put a stop to the mining because he sort of ran out of space. He does regret having the island lean a little bit too far this way. He could have gone and shuffled everything around to make it a little bit deeper, but as he's already in the year, what's that, 43,000? That's a very long time in the game. He decided it was time to call it quits and move on to, well, the next digging zone. So this map was... You shall not pass! And I think he definitely passed. Yeah, he definitely passed and inverted the island. Anyway, with all that said and done, I'm going to leave this here. If you enjoyed the video, can you do me a favor? Just leave a comment down below saying you did. If you think I missed something I should have spent a little bit more time on, again, leave it down in the comments below. Or if you just enjoyed the video, do me a favor, just throw emoji down there. I'll do. Anyway, with all that said and done, I'm going to leave this video here. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Do hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you in, well, the very next video. All right, bye.